Hey everybody. Um, Welcome to week 3 of VBL-S. I wasn't able to do a live commentary because I was at work, and work was just a little bit too noisy to record live. So I figured I'd make a little team builder presentation and go over the replay. So this week I played Samax, winner of Season 4, I believe, with another Umbreon team. So even though he was 2-0 at the time of building, I was very scared. Because I want to, win. I want to do well in the VBL-S. I want to hopefully find my way past the first round of playoffs in this league, and definitely do not want to underestimate anyone. So here we have Golden Go and Surledge, who I think are kind of the two key players in this matchup. Surledge for sure is going to be his best tool into me, and Golden Go is definitely my golden goat, my first pick, my mascot, and the Pokemon that, I want to be the centerpiece of the team. So let's look at the matchup. First thing I see is my Noivern, my Tailwind setter, outspeeds all of his Pokemon. And then my Volcarona outspeeds all of his Pokemon that can take a hit. So those two, if I get Tailwind set up, can just demolish my opponent. Noivern also is strong enough on its own to be able to dispatch Jumpluff or Floatzel, so Tailwind is going to be really beneficial for me. Speed control is very important to be aware of. I'm sandwiched in, or it looks like a sandwich here, but it's not actually sandwiched. I'm doubly outsped by two different ghost types who both can one-shot Golden Go, who obviously I'm going to want to bring. It's my best Pokemon on the team. So those ghosts are going to be a big thing to deal with, especially obviously the Surledge. And even if they don't have speed control, Surledge does have the Shadow Sneak, which is super effective into Golden Go. But if I can get Golden Go faster than those guys, then I can threaten them with the super effective Shadow Ball and win that way. His Trick Room mode is just slightly slower than mine, which ends up being really impactful here, with Hatterene and Copperajah both underspeeding my Spiritomb, and Hatterene being untauntable and unfake-outable with a Cobra Cloak. It's a very menacing Trick Room setter, so definitely need to either prevent that or be aware of it to play around. I would say this team also is somewhat of a hard Trick Room team. It has the Stantler, it has the Hatterene, and it has the Haunter, all of whom can set it. And then the fast Pokemon are not quite as threatening as, something like a Volcarona would be on the fast mode, or a Dragapult, or like a Dragonlance Baxcalibur or something. He also wants to go for some bulk with the Umbreon, clearly. But, Samax's team is really interesting. He's got kind of each different piece does a different thing. Electros is like there mainly for like typing and type coverage. Copperajah and Hatterene are setter sweeper. Stantler is like backup setter plus like intimidate skills. Well, he doesn't have a defined or competitive kind of thing. But Stantler is like interesting tech guy. Umbreon with the damage reduction. Surledge being the big setup sweeper. Etc., etc. Anyways, moving on to my offensive type matchup. This is a way that I like to work on some matchups. I like to say, okay, what Pokemon do I have that work really well into him? Sun Tzu, Art of War, where can I attack where he cannot defend? Now, Samax's team is pretty well balanced type chart wise. He actually has all of the typings that I think are important, just lacking I believe he just lacks a rock, bug, and ice type, which I don't think are the most important types to have on your team. But we can look at, there are some holes, 3 fire weaknesses, only one of whom is super frail, the Jumpluff. Lucario and Copperajah both can take hits depending on their set, especially if Lucario is like Assault Vest. And only 2 fire resists. But those 2 fire resists are both countered by water types. So a water type with fire coverage potentially would be really good. His first pick, Umbreon, is only weak to a few moves. Fairy, I've got... Do I have... What's my... Azumarill, right. I've got the Azumarill, who probably comes, but only one Pokemon is hit by that. The other type that Umbreon is hit by strong is the fighting moves. And count up, he has 1, 2, 3, 4 fighting weaknesses, including that kind of key first pick Umbreon. So bringing strong offensive moves on the fighting type definitely gonna put in a lot of work and put on a lot of pressure. Of course, he does have reasonable immunities and resists as well, including his Rage Powder user. But for weaknesses does not balance out for resistances, because if I can just KO the partner, doesn't matter if the guy next to it is a resist, and it frees up more move slots for me to do other things. He also notably has a ghost weakness with two very important Pokemon, Ceruledge and Hatterene, both being weak to ghost, and only two resistances who are both weak to fighting. So Golden Go is going to have a field day this matchup with potentially a pretty strong Shadow Ball. So here's the team, bringing Volcarona, Golden Go, Azumarill, Noivern, Mudsdale, and Rotom. I've been using these top 5 pretty much every week, and this is Rotom's first time coming off the bench. But I think these top 5 are turning out to be a really, really, really solid core, with them really covering each other's weaknesses well. So, starting out with Volcarona, definitely performing as the offense this week. Here on the right, I have listed the matchups that are most relevant. I think the Floatzel, the Jumpluff, and the Ceruledge are what I want to highlight. Turning into water is going to flip the Floatzel Wave Crash from a super effective hit into a resist and allow me to potentially burn it with Flame Body. I can one-hit KO the Jumpluff, and I definitely lose to that Ceruledge all the time. But if I Terra into water and Terra Blast it before it Terras into something else, I can remove it, especially with a +1 from Quiver Dance. You can see there's some other interactions there on the right. You can read if you'd like. I think overall here, Volcarona just looks super solid offensively. I was considering going for Heat Wave, but Ceruledge having Flash Fire made me shy away from that. And I'm going for Flamethrower over Fiery Dance specifically for this calculation, where I have a 98% chance to a KO a super Spadeffi Hatterene, which is going to be really important because on one of my Pokemon, I can do 50% damage to anything. So here's Mr. Golden Go. I am slower than the Floatzel, I'm slower than the Jumpluff, I'm slower than the Ceruledge and the Haunter. It's time for Choice Scarf. Pretty straightforward one there. The other benefit of Choice Scarf is that when I trick it, I don't have to worry about giving something a Choice Specs, potentially. So tricking it onto Umbreon, locking it into Charm or Snarl even, or like a Calm Mind or something, would be really phenomenal, and let me kind of flip that matchup that against the Umbreon. That would really be why Umbreon comes, to be a special tank and resist hits from Golden Go and hit back with a strong Dark Pulse. This is my best Pokemon by far into Hatterene. I think Golden Go alone makes it hard to bring Hatterene to this matchup. At first I thought Hatterene was probably the least likely to come just because it had such a bad matchup into Golden Go, but I think it is going to be pretty important for him, just being one of his Pokemon that both has good stats and good utility moves. With the Scarf, I'm outspeeding Haunter, I'm outspeeding Ceruledge, and I can Terra Dark to resist a Shadow Sneak. Also worth noting, this is my best answer into Lucario. I can pretty much always switch it in. I can take a Close Combat, I can take an Extreme Speed, I can take a Meteor Mash, I can take a Bullet Punch. The only thing Lucario could do is potentially Dark Pulse me, which again, I have the Terra type to resist, and the Focus Blast is going to do big damage into that. And I'm immune to Sleep Powder, so really good Pokemon this week, but it is a little tricky just given the Ceruledge. Mr. Tank, Azumarill. Here's the calc for Golden Go as well. Even versus a Hatterene that is Terrassalized out of a type that Golden Go is super effective against, if I target it with Shadow Ball, I should still have a good chance to 2-hit KO it. Okay, Azumarill. It's got a little bit of speed on it so that it can outspeed a Jolly Ceruledge and Tailwind, although it does also have the Aqua Jet, obviously, for that, and it resists Bitter Blade. This water type is generally pretty hard for my opponent's team to deal with, just given all of their Pokemon have trouble hitting it outside of the not very offensive Jumpluff and the Electros, both of whom I have the Terra Grass for if I end up facing down those and needing to keep Ozzo around for a few more turns. I also resist Bitter Blade, and I resist both the Ice Spinner and the Wave Crash from Floatzel. This is also my best Pokemon into Umbreon, and notably, this is another Pokemon that has a bit of an issue dealing with the Haunter. Here you can see at the bottom the calculation into Hatterene. Once again, great chance to 1-hit KO even a super defensive Hatterene. I'm expecting that Samax is not going to run 100% full bulk on Hatterene. If he does, fair play to him. And here we go, Mr. Support. This is why we're looking at all these 2-hit KO calcs. Super Fang. Super Fang with Noivern plus any of my other Pokemon should remove Hatterene. So, with Hatterene, you can't fake it out if it has Covert Cloak. You can't taunt it because of Magic Bounce. My Imprison Trick Room option is Spiritomb, which honestly looks pretty good here because it does also have super effective damage into Hatterene and can do a lot of other stuff to the other Pokemon, but it's just so weak to the Dazzling Gleam. But Samax doesn't have Fake Out, so I can just double up onto it most turns. The only way to fully stop it would be the Rage Powder from the Jump Bluff. You can see I am bringing Rotom-O, so he would have to Terra the Hatterene because a Make It Rain plus a Leaf Storm should remove Hatterene regardless, even if it is running the Sash. Noivern here, pretty simple. Frisk is doing crazy good damage. The Steel-type Terra is just there to resist the Ice Spinner from Floatzel and the Dazzling Gleam from Hatterene, as well as any Dragon Pulse Lucario or Play Rough on the Caparaja. Taunt, super duper useful for the Jump Bluff and the Umbreon, who are both very exploitable, mainly running support moves, and the Stantler as well. We can see here also that Noivern's running the Life Orb, and that's so that it can 1-hit KO the Floatzel, which is super duper critical. One note as well is Draco Meteor doing a lot of damage into the Hatterene in case something else is going on and it Terras and I need to just remove it. Mr. Wincon. So my team is actually built around this Mudsdale. The plan is basically, as with a lot of late game setup Pokemon, clear out my opponent's team in the early game, and then clean up the rest with a Pokemon that's hard to kill, which in this case is going to be this Mudsdale. So Stamina is going to let me boost my defense every time I get hit, and Chesto Berry plus Rest is going to allow me to get down to low health after taking those hits, and then heal right back up to full to smash through with body presses, and potentially also Heavy Slam and High Horsepower. Like I mentioned, fighting coverage is very good into this matchup. I also have it on Golden Go and on Azumarill, and the body press especially is going to beat stuff like Charm, Snarl, Umbreon. It's going to beat a lot of these other Pokemon that are weak to the fighting coverage. It hits a Ceruledge, who I expect is going to Terra this game. And for the Pokemon that potentially resist it, I have Heavy Slam, which is going to do huge damage into the Haunter and huge damage into the Hatterene as well. You can see even with 0 invest, 125 attack Mudsdale is 2-hit KOing a very defensive Hatterene. This Pokemon is a monster with that 120 base power attack, which is also doing big damage into the Haunter, obviously. And then High Horsepower is coming in there to do big damage into the Ceruledge before it is Terra'd. And that High Horsepower is also just generally good damage if I haven't set up the body presses yet. Max Spadef, so that I can take those special hits. And my last Pokemon here is Mr. Punish, Mr. Rotom. I really had to respect Trick Room this game, and ultimately, if Samax has a plan, which is like Jump Bluff next to Stantler, or Hatterene next to Jump Bluff with the right brings, or if I just need to cover for other options, I can lead this and just set up light clay screens turn 1, so that worst case scenario, he gets up Trick Room, he has the speed advantage, but now I have bulk on my side, and I can switch out into my Azumarill and my Mudsdale, who are taking hits like nobody's business. And you can see as well, here the Leaf Storm is getting a very solid 2-hit KO into the Hatterene, and getting around the Rage Powder. Forgot to mention about Mudsdale, Terra Dragon is flipping the water and grass weaknesses. The only weakness that it will maintain after the Terra is weakness to Floatzel Ice Spinner, but it will allow me to resist any hits coming out from Jump Bluff and any hits coming out from Terra Grass, Terra Blast, Ceruledge, and any water hits coming out from Floatzel if it's locked into a choice item or something. And, Floatzel being very frail will take a lot of damage from high horsepower and body press. If I'm facing the Hatterene and giving myself the fairy weakness with the dragon, I will just heavy slam it and not Terra, because the ground type is still pretty good here defensively. Alright, back to Rotom. It's also very good into Floatzel. That Water Terra, like I mentioned, will allow it to resist a Bitter Blade from a Ceruledge, and an Ice Spinner from Floatzel. Yeah, I think this game, my likely Terra targets are going to be Volcarona with the Water-type Terra Blast to beat the Ceruledge, or the Dragon-type Mudsdale. So, that's what I brought. Let's watch these games. So, game 1, I see that he didn't bring the Haunter, which is cool. I see both the Stantler and the Hatterene, which makes me think it's Trick Room, and then especially with the Jump Bluff to set it up. So I think what I want to do game 1 is just go with my planned lead, which is Noivern and Volcarona. I'm going to frisk out some items, and then have at least Mudsdale in the back to clean out the game after taking some big hits. Frisking turn 1 is always going to be really beneficial. We also see the Lucario. I have to expect that that's just going to be some sort of offensive extreme speed set, which I'm relatively prepared for. Noivern is going to take a lot from that, Rotom's going to take a lot from that, but the rest of my Pokemon are pretty well situated to counter that, just with their bulk and their ability to hit Lucario super effectively. Floatzel is an interesting bring here. There's always the possibility that he's going to be running a Rain Dance set, and it's going to be faster than everything I have and do a lot of damage. But this team looks like it's kind of going halfway between fast and slow modes, with Ceruledge probably coming to every match. So I think this first game I locked in Volcarona, Noivern, Mudsdale, and Golden Go. So, music off. I lead with the Noivern and the Golden Go, and we see Ogwiv Berry on Ceruledge and Sash on Jump Bluff. So this is great news for me. It tells me he's probably going for a Tailwind here and going for like a fast, offensive Ceruledge, which I think is not as scary as maybe a really defensive one that was able to set up. So I actually led Golden Go here. Interesting. I guess I wanted to save Volcarona for game 2 and have the best chance of KOing the Hatterene. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Okay, well, never trust somebody who's doing post-com. That's what I have to say about that. And here, Rage Powder. I always had to cover for the Rage Powder. I think the Shadow Ball here was to break a Sash on that Jump Bluff, or obviously get huge damage into the Ceruledge. And then we have Taunt to prevent a Rage Powder or a Tailwind next turn, because these Pokemon aren't really threatening Noivern too much. Note that I also could have gone for a Draco Meteor here, but I think keeping Jump Bluff in but taunted was better for me. And we see a Bulk Up. So he could have taken the KO on Golden Go right there. He doesn't know for sure. He was probably covering for a Terra. Notably, a Safety Goggles Golden Go there would have been really, really bad for him. But I think it's fair, turn 1, to, say, all right, you're going to show me if you're Safety Goggles, and maybe I lose my Ceruledge, but I can bring it back for game 2 and game 3 with that knowledge. But we do note that the Golden Go outspeeds the Noivern, which was probably a mistake in prep, to have Golden Go outspeeding, because now he knows that I'm Scarfed. And if that hadn't happened, then he would just expect, oh, I'm faster than the Ceruledge, which I don't know at this point if he was Speedy or Bulky on it. And actually, we can check his pace right now. It was max speed Jolly, so he would have known I was Scarf anyways. Never mind. All right, carrying on, we see the Jump Bluff just switch out right after getting taunted, and Floatzel comes in. Now this turn, I really knew that I needed to get the damage off on Ceruledge, and I had the ability to do so with the Sash broken. So there's a Protect on Ceruledge, and Shadow Ball not taking purchase, but a Draco with a Life Orb just cleanly one-hit KOs that slot. Floatzel taking it was great. Now, Hatterene switching in there would have been really bad for me, but that was not what happened. I think I figured that if Hatterene was coming, it was going to be in the front, at least for game 1. Jump Bluff comes back out, gets the Rage Powder, and now I don't even take the KO with my Scarfed Golden Go, and I'm very open to getting attacked. Here, this Draco hits and takes out the jump bluff, but that's enough for Saraledge to get big damage into Golden Go with that clean 1 KO. So now we're facing down a +1/+1 Saraledge at full health. I've got a super weakened Noivern, and here it is. The Hatterene is in fact in the back. So if he had switched that in instead of the Floatzel, this would be a very, very different game. Switching in frail Pokemon, always a risk. So here I definitely should have made a play to switch out my my Golden Go. I think my thought process was basically this Saraledge is just way too strong. A Bitter Blade is going to KO my my Volcarona. It's going to KO my Rotom. My Azu can resist it, but I don't think I had Azu in the back this game, and it's going to do probably like 50% of Mudsdale. I need to keep Mudsdale full health, so unfortunately it meant sacking Golden Go. And here out comes Mudsdale. And here we see that combo, Super Fang. Another bulk up from Saraledge, very scary, but boom, Heavy Slam comes out. That critical hit did not matter, as we saw from the calcs. This Hatterene has 252 HP and 76 defense, but even the 0 invest Heavy Slam is doing enough that after the game I calced it, that crit did not matter. And here we see I have the Rotom in the back after all, so I could have switched the Mudsdale in on that Bitter Blade earlier, but keeping it at full health here is going to be really important. But we see a Protect coming out, High Horsepower not doing much damage, and the Terra. Now this Terra should have been expected. Bitter Blade crits right through that screen, probably didn't matter, and the High Horsepower doesn't do much. But now I know I've preserved my Terra. I miss a Draco. I haven't preserved my Terra. So where did I Terra into the Dragon type? Last turn. Yeah, I guess it didn't show it too well. Terra Dragon to resist that Bitter Blade. Now it's going to be, he's going to be able to Bitter Blade me, but I have the Reflect up, and I'm going to be Heavy Slamming him until my Body Press ends up doing more damage. Shadow Claw, even a +2, doesn't do enough, thanks to that Reflect, and Draco is enough to seal it up. Yeah, so that was my game 1. I think notably that Saraledge getting very bulky and having that Ogwog Berry was very fucking scary to me. But my Mudsdale is doing good damage into it, even if he attacks me because of my Body Press. Worth noting that I did calc the Heavy Slam versus the +1 Body Press, and Heavy Slam does enough until I get to like +2 with the Body Press. Moving on to game 2. I expected him to commit harder to Trick Room here, I believe, and he knows very for sure that his Jump Bluff is not super great here, and that the Floatzel isn't super great here either, but that Saraledge is always going to be the kingpin. So I made some adjustments. I think this time I said, all right, I need to Terra my Volcarona early so that I can answer that Saraledge and have a better answer into it, because if Noivern goes down and I lose that special damage, then I'm gonna need to 1v1 it with Mudsdale, which I may not be able to do. So here we see no big surprises, Eviolite on the Stantler. And he frisks my Charcoal and my Life Orb, so he knows I'm an offensive Volcarona. Here we have a taunt going into that Stantler. This is notable because if Jump Bluff went for a Rage Powder here, Stantler could have gotten him Trick Room, and that's fine. And I said, you know what, you're going to do that. This game I had Azumarill and Mudsdale in the back. Go ahead and set up your Trick Room. I'm just going to Quiver Dance with my Volcarona. Get bulky, get offensive, and then even if you set it up, you've got a taunted Jump Bluff and a Stantler out, and I can just take huge damage with both of my Pokemon who are not that threatened by this combo. But he goes for the Sleep Powder, so that is what it is. And no Trick Room. Here we see the Hatterene come out, which is real scary, because now he's going to be going for Trick Room with this guy, and I'm asleep, so I don't have my pin. But I taunt here, Jump Bluff can't do anything, and it's a nothing burger of a turn. Jump Bluff switches out again, and in comes the this guy, and here I'm just praying that my Volcarona wakes up so that I can prevent a Trick Room from going up. So I go for the Super Fang, and I wake up, and I get the Flamethrower, and there's a KO. And now we're back to where we started once again. My opponent can easily set up Trick Room, but they've lost their Hatterene in the process. So a lot of switching in defensive play like this, not taking advantage of being able to set up the Trick Room when you can, may have hurt them. I think Samax probably was fearing a safety goggles on the Volcarona, maybe not a, well, no, because he went for the Rage Powder on it, so I'm curious about that first turn, why he didn't just go for the Rage Powder, but anyways, we keep on going, Rage Powder, Taunt goes into it, and he can easily go for a Trick Room here. Take that down to Sash, but he goes for Light Screen instead, so I still have the speed advantage. Now I have a Taunt, which can prevent that, and I say, fuck it, Quiver Dance time, maybe. We're already 5 turns in, and only one Pokemon has been KO'd. Very interesting game so far, with a lot of taunts coming out from my side, a lot of Sleeping Moth, and yet still, I've been able to take that kill. Bodyslam comes out, does pretty good damage into Noivern, and we see the +1 Terra Water, Terra Blast, but Sarah Ledge is able to live because of the Light Screen, and he heals up back up with the Agua Berry. I Super Fanged here, just covering for the potential Protect from the Sarah Ledge, but we see Bitter Blade coming out. Of course, I resist, so not too bad there. This turn, he's got an interesting play. He protects, I Terra Blast, and Draco Meteor into the Protect. So very good read there, Samax. The reason I went for that is because if he were to Terra Water with the Sarah Ledge, then I would need both hits to attack it. But if he were not to Terra Water, then I would have my Draco Meteor redirected into Standler. I think that if he were to Terra Grass, I think here clearly it was a misplay to double up into it, but if I didn't, he would be able to potentially set up a Bulk Up, or potentially use a Terra Grass, Terra Blast into Volcarona, which would have killed, which I really did not want because Volcarona is my Terra Pokemon, need to be exerting pressure with it. But now, Body Slam has a Para Chance and puts me real low, and the taunt is ended. We see a switch out from the Sarah Ledge there, which makes sense, because now, after living on 2%, Standler can remove the Volcarona. So now, I've lost my best answer to the Sarah Ledge. He still has the Terra available, but good news, I can switch out my Noivern, which we saw did huge damage to the Sarah Ledge, and I still have my Azumarill and my Mudsdale in the back. So now this looks pretty clean, just after doing so much damage to all 3 of my opponent's Pokemon. We see Mudsdale reveal the stamina for the first time in the match. He starts going for bulk ups, but I just decided to double into it. Azumarill doing huge damage with the Adamant Nature, and there you go. I think at this point, he revealed Shadow Claw. Did he reveal it last game? He did reveal it last game, yeah. Okay. So I knew that there was no Terra Blast, but I think I was still expecting that the Shadow Claw could kill Volcarona. But we see here, with this set, he can't do crazy damage to Azumarill, and Play Rough is still doing good damage into the Grass type. And so he's forced to kind of just Shadow Claw or set up bulk ups. I'm putting on a lot of pressure with these 2 guys, and then every time he hits Mudsdale, I'm getting defense boosts, which can hit him. So I think this game, he ended up bringing 3 semi-support guys, and just leaving his offense on the in the back, besides the Hatterene and the Sarah Ledge. Obviously, if I got off the... if I didn't wake up with Volcarona, then I would have been in a different situation. I probably would have lost my Noivern to a Dazzling Gleam, or let him set up Trick Room. But we saw, even if that had happened, I've got the Mudsdale and the Azumarill in the back, and the Volcarona would have been in a different spot as well. And these guys together are my team's, core, my team's, strong stalwarts that work in Trick Room, but also just tank hits like nobody's business. And they had a pretty solid matchup into the rest of this. I want to look briefly at my Hawk Doc. I made this little matrix tab. I think this is an interesting thing to do when prepping. I just want to show how seriously I took prep for this match. So Sam knows this wasn't some sort of like easy win situation. This was basically my thought process was all these green guys are good, these yellow guys are mid, these red guys are bad. Skuntic has a good matchup into Hatterene, good matchup into Haunter with the Sucker Punch, and into Umbreon with Taunt, and into Sarah Ledge with the Dark moves. But it just doesn't have the stats to really perform here, and I felt that if I wasn't bringing it for a very specific thing, that none of my other Pokemon could do, then the other guys were just generally better. Passimian I considered for a beat up into Mudsdale to give me that stamina boost immediately, but I realized I needed all these other guys more. Really almost considered bringing Spiritomb. As you see, it kind of has a reasonable matchup into everything, but these other top 6 guys just felt a little bit better, and I think Rotom did end up being the right call. You can see here Hatterene was truly the Pokemon I thought was least likely to come, just because of the absolutely schmackered, cooked so good matchup into Golden Go, but we saw everything was reasonable, and a bunch of stuff came. Here we can see Sam's paste. So we ended up having Trick Room on the Stantler, but not on the Hatterene, which is a very interesting play. I think that was probably the right call, just because Hatterene does have that weakness to Golden Go. You can bring it in the back instead of leading it. And Stantler with huge HP and defense was definitely going to live hits, but you can taunt it. And if I had had safety goggles on my taunter, then that would have been a very easy full shutdown. I didn't, but he didn't take advantage of that. And thus, I was able to clean up this game. Notable that there was no Shadow Sneak on the Ceruledge, so my Scarf Golden Go was really well positioned versus that. Helping Hand on this jump left didn't really do too much. Might have been better to have a Grass move on here. Turns out it was Scarf Floatzel, so if he had brought it in, it would have caught me off guard, could have Ice Spinnered my my Noivern, which would have been really scary. That never ended up showing up, but in a Game 3 situation, that definitely could have been a strong adjustment. And Sam even talked about, bringing that out for Game 2, but deciding to go with Trick Room, which ultimately bit him in the booty. And then this Lucario, Choice Band Terra Ground EQ, I think is really cool here, but if you can see what I brought, Noivern, Mudsdale not taking too much, and Rotom all being immune to the Terra Ground, he probably said, not worth bothering. So that was this week. Thank you for watching this postcom. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next week.